Thank you for this opportunity, sir. I'm a farmer, and I'm trying to represent the farmer's voice, and it's good to be here. As a farmer, it's very difficult for me to perceive food security in global terms as is generally perceived the world over. When most of those who are suffering from hunger, malnutrition, and poverty are farmers themselves, I visualize food security as an issue of the individual farms, of the individual farmer families. And this is the year of family planning, and that's where we have to go. It's not practical to feed farmers by aid, trade, or transfer of grains across continents, across countries, and also within the same regions, within the regions of the very countries they are in. We have to handhold the small farmers to have backyard gardens where they can produce their own requirement of vegetables and combine this with livestock rearing. It's a perfect combination with which we can attain nutrition and food security and eradicate hunger. How much land does a family require to grow its own requirement of vegetables? I think so 1/4 this room size, maximum half this room size is all that requires a small family requires. It's not a big thing. And in this era of Millennium Development Goals and other projects, small ideas, simple ideas is out-of-box thinking. We could combine these small vegetable backyards with solar electricity and biogas. And biogas, I'm talking about very small, something that could fit into a drum of 500 liters of fuel. It would provide him with cooking gas. It would provide him with energy to charge his cell phone or light a bulb. And that's the way to go. We need small projects in large numbers. We don't need large projects in small numbers. And that's where we are coming from on this. Environmentally sustainable interventions have to be economically sustainable in the immediate term. Otherwise, they're not going to be adopted. They're not going to be scalable. Because the benefits are going to occur over a long period of time, the socio-economic condition of the farmer does not allow him to be adventurous to adopt what larger organizations are preaching to the farmer. It's similar for the developed world. The developed world, as Mr. Sachs told us, is looking at 50% reduction in emissions. I completely agree with them. It could be more. But what is the practical problem? The developing countries are more focused on misplaced growth indicators as the GDP and have scarce resources. These nations are not going to forego their economic growth for environmental impact mitigation. They're not going to do it, in spite of what we tell them. Their priorities are different. They want economic development. They want employment generation. And return on environment investment is too long-term to attract investment from financially deficient governments. That must clearly be understood. It's a problem. If politicians gave as much attention to climate change as they give to genetically modified crops, I think so half the problem would be solved. And that's another problem. In both cases of climate change and GM crops, scientific evidence is being completely ignored. And that also needs to be understood. Climate change has to be a top-down approach, and food security has to be a bottom-up approach. Just like most of the plants, they grow bottom-up, and that's how food security needs to be looked at. Strategy without financing is plain hypothesis. Everybody needs to worry. Today, we are not just interconnected, we are interdependent. The current rate of progress is not fast enough, and our erroneous ways will catch up with us very fast if we do not. As a farmer from the developing world, I suggest to the developed world to commit $100 billion a year for the next 10 years for mitigation of environment impact problems in the developing world. Now, it may sound like a lot of money. It is not, because the world is spending $50 billion on cosmetics every year. The world is spending $1,750 billion on weapons to kill each other. So it's not a huge amount of money. And that's what we think we need to do. After all, the 3 to 4 degree rise in global temperatures that is perceived has come about because in the way the developed world has developed in the first place. And it is only now that the developing world is copying all those wrong practices and following down that path. So the developed world has to take some responsibility and pool in some money. Climate resilience is different things to different people. I subscribe to the definition that it is the capacity to recover from shocks. Farms in Europe and elsewhere are more climate resilient, while farmers in the developing world are more resilient to pain. And if climate change does not stop, let me tell you this, everyone will fall, and the fall will be harder for those who fall from higher branches. Thank you so much.